Welcome to episode 6 of Fatal Female Friday. Today we're going to be discussing the case of the Russian serial killer, Irina. So I don't know how many of you actually I don't know if any of you here have ever had vodka, but for those of you who don't know, vodka is basically this alcoholic drink that's actually very popular in Russia. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because vodka is kind of like the main point of the story as to why these murders happen. So we have another serial killer, so we might as well get right into the video. Irina Viktorovna Gaidamachuk, who I'll be referring to as Irina for the rest of the story, was born in 1972 in the town of Negadian in the Soviet Union. At a young age, Irina had actually become addicted to alcohol, which is believed to be because both her parents, her mother and her father, both also were abusing alcohol, but also had substance abuse issues. So it was not only alcohol, but alcohol and drugs, which, as any of us know, that's obviously not a good mix. Irina's addiction actually led her parents to lose custody of her. So I guess that gives you an idea of just how severe her addiction must have been. In 1990, when Irina was just 18 years old, she moved to the town of, forgive me here, Krasnoufimsk. So when she moved to this town, this K town, this is where she would meet a man named Yuri, which she would conceive her 2 children with. So she would marry him, and then she would have 2 kids by him. And so Yuri, the husband, he didn't want to give her money because he was worried that it would go towards her little alcohol fund. Because keep in mind, she still has the addiction. So, for very good reason, he didn't want to give her the money so she can go waste on alcohol. Yeah, and so Irina was like, okay, well, if Yuri won't give me money, keep in mind, she wasn't working. So, I assuming, obviously, if Yuri has money, he's working. Because otherwise, how are you going to take care of these 2 kids? Which basically now you have a whole family, so somebody has to work. So Yuri was working, Irina wasn't. I guess she was taking care of the kids or whatever. And so Irina was like, okay, well, since Yuri won't give me money, I'll go out and do it myself. But she didn't go out and get a job. I guess she decided in her mind, we're going to resort to murder. The first murder that we know of that took place happened in 2002 when apparently there's this really old elderly lady was walking across the street and she had some grocery bags. And so Irina, being the ever so helpful person she is, or she wanted to portray herself to be, she helped the old lady. So the old lady was obviously very happy. Well, not, I guess, she was happy that someone had actually helped her. And so she invited Irina back because she was like, okay, well, she's that, I guess the woman was under the impression that, if she was that nice to help an old lady carry her groceries across the street, she can't be that bad, right?
Right? Wrong!
This woman, who was unnamed, she invited her back to her house, and Irina had actually hit her with a vase. So they got in the house, all that, right? But Irina had hit her with a vase and stole 20 pounds and just dipped. And so yeah, obviously when you have that addiction, you can't just 20 pounds isn't gonna I feel like from what I've read, 20 pounds could get you a good amount of vodka, but it won't obviously last for a long time. So I mean, unless she preserves it. But then again, she was addicted, so she's gonna want it on the regular, which means you're going to have to get another fix, which means you have to go out and rob somebody again. And so Irina actually started leaving these notes on people's homes, telling them hey, be home at 11, which I'm assuming is 11 o'clock. And obviously, that's 11 o'clock in the morning, not at night. And basically, a social worker will be there. And so, I don't know if I mentioned this, but these were older women, elderly women, above the age of 60. So anywhere between the 60s to the 80 to 90. The oldest confirmed victim is 89, so 90, close enough. The women would be home and Irina would pose herself as a social worker, because keep in mind, remember on the note she said a social worker will be there. So she posed herself as a social worker, and obviously as a social worker, Or if you're going to at least pretend to be one, you got to dress the part. So she would show up pretty well dressed, to make it look more convincing that she was in fact a social worker. So she would gain access to like the homes, and then she would attack these. She would then attack these elderly ladies with a hammer or an axe that she kept in her purse, and then she would use it to attack them with it, and she would keep attacking them with the hammer or the axe, whichever one she had her that day, until their skulls were crushed.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow.
And then if that wasn't horrific enough, when she was done, she would actually like try to burn the house down, like leave like the iron on, leave some a random appliance on, make like a gas leak, make like an accident. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's an accident. She was an old lady. Oh, accidents happen, Yeah. So you remember how that woman that basically got killed over like 20 pounds, which is basically like 27 US dollars. Yeah, so Irina would be willing to kill women, these elderly women, simply over $20 just to get some vodka. And so obviously the police were on this pretty straight away, but because of the brutality of the crimes, because keep in mind, these women's skulls were crushed, and so because the crime is so brutal, it was believed originally that a man had committed the murder because for some reason they didn't think women were capable of this stuff, which I'm not saying that all women are like that, but obviously they were under the assumption that a man had done all these murders instead of, when in reality they should be looking at a female. Because they were looking for a man instead of a woman as they should have, Irina wasn't even on police radar. It's just from what I at least found. She was not on police radar until 2010. So like 8 years after the murders had started. And the reason why she had gotten on the radar was because there was this woman named Bilbinur Makshaeva. Yeah, so I'm just gonna call her B. Okay, so then B was attacked by Irina, but luckily, B managed to escape and she survived and lived to tell the tale. So now we have like our first and only survivor. So then obviously, so then she goes and tells the police like, "Hey, I was just attacked. This woman tried to kill me." And so that changes like the whole case because again, they're looking for a man. Nope, the survivor just told us it was a woman. So now we gotta look at women too. So then Irina, of course, starts getting cocky because, like, well, I was able to kill all these strangers without getting caught. So let's go kill some people that I know. I mean, yeah, you get away with killing 16 people because she had killed 16 people at this point. Like, she wasn't done killing yet. So, yeah, I'm sorry. We went from, like, one murder to, like, 16. My bad. That's just, that's just how it is with these articles. And so her final confirmed victim, which would be victim number 17, was 81-year-old Alexandria Povaritsyna, who she basically told was like she was a decorator instead of like the usual social worker case to like throw her off. Because at this point, the police had been like telling people if somebody claims to be a social worker, do not let them in. It could be the killer. Like, don't let them in. Could be the killer. So she got to lie and say, "Oh, I'm a decorator." Yeah. So you know how I mentioned that the police were originally on the belief it was a man, but now they found out it was a woman because of the survivor. Okay, so like this caused another woman, like also named Irina, but not the actual Irina, to be arrested, and her name was Irina Valeyeva. And so she was the Valeyeva Irina was innocent, but obviously the Gaidamachuk Irina was guilty. And so, okay, I'm gonna say Irina V. Irina V, the innocent one, was age 29 at the time that she was arrested, and it said, despite being innocent, she even confessed, but it was later found out that she had been forced to confess. Like, I don't know whether they physically abused her, like, threatened her, intimidated, whatever, but they somehow got her to confess to something she didn't even do. So they thought they had the killer. So, they thought they had the killer, and obviously they didn't. But they didn't know they didn't. They thought they did. So then Irina goes on her last little kill, and that victim's name is Alexandria. We assume that Alexandria died the same way the victims did, with the hammer that Irina was just carrying around her purse, just casually, like she was just waiting to commit the next murder, like it was a thrill kill or something. And so 3,000 people were questioned, and over 2,000 forensic exams were done. Because, again, this wasn't just one killer. This was like this wasn't just one murder. It was like a bunch of murders going on. So obviously they're trying to get to it as soon as they can to like prevent more victims and all that stuff. And so it was actually believed that like right after they believed, okay, it could still be a man, but like it's a man dressed as a woman. Because there were some people that were still in belief that it was a man that committed these murders. Like I guess for some reason, they just didn't want to believe that a female could be capable of committing such a brutal crime. Alright, so about in mid-2010, so like 8 years after the first murder, like I had mentioned earlier, they finally caught Irina when like neighbors of like the last victim, the Alexandria woman, they saw Irina leave the house on the day of the murder. So obviously that was... And then found out Alexandria died. Obviously that was suspicious on its own, so... Irina had actually matched the description of the woman that was seen leaving the house, and so she was arrested. She was finally arrested on June 7th, 2010. Irina claims that she had actually wanted to be a good mother, but she needed her occasional drinks. When asked why she chose the way she did to get money, because you could just rob somebody and not kill them. I mean, there's you didn't have to resort to murder, or like because the murder was kind of overdone, like because you could just rob them and not kill them, like they didn't have to die. They didn't have to die, but in her mind, they did have to die. So yeah. So when asked why Irina chose the method she did to get the money for her little vodka addiction.
What was the reason? I had a reason. What was the reason? What was the reason? I just explained the reason. What was the reason, bitch? I don't need to explain.
She basically literally just said she didn't want to work.
Oh my god! Wow!
So killing little old ladies in their 60s to late 80s was better than working a legal paying job, which probably, I'm pretty sure, would have paid you more than how much you were taking from these old ladies. When rounding out about exactly how much she stole from like all the victims, like all confirmed 17 victims that we know of, she made less than £1,000, which £1,000, that's like $1,360 in US currency. So for almost $1,400, there's 17 people dead.
Really, nigga?
And so yeah, the trial actually started like almost 2 years later at the Yekaterinburg court, which, where she denied being involved at the trial despite confessing when she was investigated. And so a little psych exam was done by GNT, 3 S's, a P, Serbsky, and Irina was found to be legally sane. And so it was actually discovered that Irina would actually leave these little notes with the number that the victim was on the wall on the front door, like on the front door of the house. And so, for example, if you were victim number 12, the number on the front door of your house would be
12.
Victim you was, that's the number you had printed on the wall of the front door of your house. And so obviously they had to do a little handwriting test to make sure like it was the same handwriting, because if it wasn't, then it's like, do we even have the right person? And obviously it did come back to be a match to Irina.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So then on June 4th, 2012, basically almost the 2-year anniversary of her getting arrested for the murders, Irina was actually sentenced to 25 years, which is the longest term that a woman could get in Russia. So even though she killed 17 innocent people and almost killed another one, because she is a woman, she can only get 25 years. Her sentence, if that sentence wasn't even short enough, guess what? Her sentence actually got shortened by 5 years. So now instead of serving 25, she now has 20. And it's not for good behavior, which you can get out early for good behavior. But she got 5 years shaved off her sentence because she is a mom of those 2 kids. Even though by the time she gets out, they'll be grown. Because you're a mom, I'm going to shave 5 years off your little sentence.
Bitch, I know you fucking lying. I know you fucking lying. Because, oh my God, so...
The victims' families were also very angry, and for very good reason, too. Because they didn't think that she should ever get out of jail. They thought, it would either be death. Like, I'm pretty sure some of them probably thought, death would be better since she killed them. But they said they would much rather see her serve life in prison. Because, best believe, if a male had committed these crimes, like they originally thought, he would have got life in prison. Because, at least from what I've read, there are no limits as to how long a man can serve in a Russian prison. So, under the Russian law, she's actually expected to be released in 2032, which is like in 11 years. So she's already served about a good half of her, it's about to be 2022, so she's already served at least a good half of her sentence. And what makes it even more frustrating, she actually may get out for good behavior. And so, yeah, so now her lawyer, Sorin, so Karsanin is actually working to get the sentence appealed. So basically, like, get her out of jail, which I don't know how you get her out of jail after she done killed 17 people. I mean, she's already lucky because she got 20 years, and the judge says she's going to get shorter if she gets out for good behavior. But, I mean, they're, like, basically trying to make it to where she just gets out scot-free. If she get out scot-free after killing 17 people, she's going to go under a whole new identity. Now, luckily, she's not very well known over here, because most of the articles I found about her, so she's not Elizabeth Bathory or Eileen Wuornos. She's not like one of the well-known serial killers. Like, yeah, and definitely, if she gets out, she can't stay in Russia. Because she's dubbed as, like, the worst female serial killer. Her name is literally, her nickname, my bad, is literally Satan in a skirt. So, yeah, I mean, and I can see why. Hell, you kill a woman for $20, 20 pounds to get some vodka? Yeah, I can see why they call you Satan in a skirt. That was episode 6 of Fatal Female Friday with the case of Irina, the alcoholic who resorted to a serial killer to turn to satisfy her vodka cravings. I personally have had vodka before in my life, and I don't know what the hype is, but the vodka she had must have been very different from what I had, because I would not do it again. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and I will see you fatal females next Friday. Bye!